know what I'm talking about, Stop?
No.
Never heard of
it.
What is Undisputed?
You never watch Undisputed? That's the Skip Bayless Shane and Shark thing?
Oh.
Never heard of it.
It's just a sports talk show.
No, I'm at my home.
Is that another strip club with an ironic name?
Anyways, welcome to the Good Game Report podcast. Today, we are joined by a plethora of people. We have GG_Deli, GG_Mr. Zombie, GG Nelly, myself, Stav, and special guest Jabroni. How are all of you doing today?
Fantastic.
Great.
Awesome.
I'm awesome.
I feel like Stav's on another level with us today.
He's already opened the White Claws.
Yeah.
He learned how to spell
No
reports.
White Claws. Patriots are dominating right now.
Oh,
I'm
God.
happy. I'm happy.
Only
And
one
I get to
Mr.
hang out with all you guys. That's why I'm happy as most.
And everybody listening to this in the car right now just turned it down. Today, we have a real cool episode in store for you guys. We have our special guest, Jabroni, who you'll get to introduce him later. And today we're just going through meeting him, talking to him about what he does, and just really, I guess, nerding out with his presence here on the podcast. So, Jabroni, how's things going?
Things are going good. You know, it's a little bit of a stressful time, but besides that, we're doing well. Nice, beautiful Sunday in Southern California, so we're chilling.
Cannot relate here in New Hampshire, but yeah, no, that's great. So what we really want to do today is, get to know you, get to hear about what you're doing, and I believe everybody here has set up some questions that they are going to ask you. Who wants to take the first question?
I was going to start with the history of, so Jabroni, as you know, many people are familiar with Battle Royale games nowadays,
Yes,
but
sir.
I'm gonna gather that majority of them have no idea what kicked it all off and what started this thing. As some people do know, PUBG started as a mod on Arma 3. Can you walk us through the evolution of this mod to game?
Somewhat. Yeah, I'm not like I wasn't really hardcore till I would say 2017 when the game pretty much fully released. I think like the first week that PUBG came out, I hopped on board. And actually started playing. Before that, yeah, obviously it was a mod. There was a couple games that had Battle Royale game modes. Minecraft had one. I actually played one in Rust. I don't know if you guys have ever played Rust before. But it was an interesting game mode that people would kind of mess around in, never really taken too seriously. Then PUBG, it like really hit mainstream. Obviously, once PUBG hit, then, now we have the Fortnites and the Apexes of the world, which are pretty much, I would say all three of these games are currently in like the top 10 played. So it's pretty much taken over. And hopefully, especially for me, it continues to go that way.
Absolutely. I mean, I know when it first came out, it was, a popular game amongst all my friends. I played it with some of my friends for a little bit. I know that it had a rough launch from going from beta and early access as far as some of the glitchiness, but some, what games don't have that. But prior to PUBG, what other games did you play before that?
So I mean, I'm 27 now. So when I was a kid, I used to play like the most console. Online was first becoming a thing. I was like 12, 13, 14, and I was like, oh, nice, I could play, Xbox Live and things like that. Halo was huge for me. Gears of War was huge for me. Call of Duty a little bit, not too much. Yeah, but all the basic console shooters is kind of where I was at. I would say Gears of War was probably where I put most of my time, like 14, 15. I probably put 4,000 hours into that game. It's disgusting. Yeah, it was gross. I ruined a year of my life on Gears of War.
Yeah, Halo 2 and 3 were definitely my prime in my pro gaming days. That's what I spent a lot of time on. What was it about PUBG Battle Royale that really made you stick with it so long? Like, what was the addictive factor for you?
It's kind of weird because now it's like I would say I have 3,000 hours in the game playing, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 hours spectating. Which is really gross over the course of 2 years, but there's something about it where even now, like, being with a pro team and like coaching a pro team and all that stuff, like every single game's different. We leave games, we're like, wow, that's never happened. I didn't, that never even crossed my mind. So there's a lot of that goes on with PUBG where it's, you never really have the same experience. And I think that's something that's super important just for being able to play a game over and over again. You know, I can play Call of Duty and rack up 25 kills and TDM on the same map 400 times, or, you know, I can play PUBG and get into a gunfight in a place I've never been in a gunfight before. And even now, after all this time, like
Mac,
that still happens.
just a
to
quick
me, you know?
question, kind of on that. Do you prefer spectating over playing? I know it might sound weird, but as just a gaming fan, I love spectating good games and watching good competition. So I want to know your thoughts on playing versus spectating.
Wow. That's actually kind of a hard question because, like, I definitely prefer playing for my own entertainment, you know, but there's something about it, you know, it's the same thing as like chilling and watching a movie or chilling and watching football, and rather than going to play, like some days I'm like, dude, I'm not going to go outside and play football right now. And, you know, when I play PUBG, it's the same thing. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and sweat and try and win games over and over. But I'm a huge esports watcher when it comes to pretty much everything PUBG and everything. You know, I'll even watch League. I've never played League in my life, but like I watch Worlds, you know, and there's a lot of that stuff that I think is super entertaining. And I think it's, you know, surprisingly enough, Counter-Strike's been huge. I love watching majors in Counter-Strike. That's, you know, I'll wake up early just to tune in and stuff like that. I would say the only thing I don't like watching is PUBG when my team's playing. That's like my least favorite thing, because it's like it's just, I don't know. There's something about PUBG when you're sitting there, you know, your team, and we get to listen to comms in Pro League. So in the National PUBG League, which is the NPL, the North American version, I'm listening to their comms. They can't hear me. And there's a lot of times that, like, you know, your team's nonchalant, hanging out, and you're sitting there, you're like, all right, everything's good, everything's good. But I can see on the map,
You're just ripping your hair out like, he's right there.
You know what I mean? And there's like, yeah, it is like, there is nothing more stressful than this game and sitting there watching it, or like, you know, you think they're in a good position and it's like, okay, as long as this one thing doesn't happen, and then it happens, you know, circle shifts in a really crazy way. You're like, oh no. And, you know, there's a lot of that where spectating PUBG, you know, especially when I have, you know, obviously it matters who wins for me, right? So spectating my own team, it's like
Probably
shit,
like watching
dude,
racehorses.
it's stressful. It's a wild game. Yeah, and it's just sitting there, and it's like, you know, it's fun to watch if you're not involved. But if you're involved, man, it is a sketchy thing to be a part of.
You said earlier to go off of you said something about that you like how, like, the thing that pulls you to PUBG is kind of like the idea that, like, every gunfight could be different. Like, you never have that same gunfight, and like something that differs from like maybe Call of Duty or something else that's the same map and you're kind of going down the same alleys or whatever. But like, what do you think that kind of has an effect on like the esports scene? Because like when PUBG and Fortnite and all those things were coming out, I found it kind of weird. Like, it just seemed not impossible, but it just seemed kind of weird to imagine like an esport around that, just because there's so much different from a normal, like a traditional kind of thing where there's two teams versus each other, like kind of football, esports, any kind of that thing. It's just like, it's always been like two teams, and PUBG is very different from that, the battle royale like idea. Like, what is it about that you like in the esports?
So,
I guess?
You know, that's actually interesting, because there's a lot I do like about that and a lot I kind of hate about that. Especially like I say it all the time sometimes, you know, when I'm sitting there joking around and when I've done interviews, like, hey, you know, next game I pick, it's just going to be one team versus another. You know, I don't want to be any of this 16 teams, 64 people in the lobby, because there's so much crap that's like you don't even think of. And it's like, you know, you'll have a clean fight and you'll be winning it in the early game and your team will be killing it. You're like, oh, nice, dude. You know, great 4v4. We're dominating. We got 2 knocks. They're pushing. Everything's going well. But if some random team walks up behind you, you know, you're completely screwed, and you could just die off that. So there's a lot of that stuff when it comes to competitive. You know, the random factor, that's tough. It's been easier on me because I did play Hearthstone for a little bit, so I was kind of, you know, I understood the RNG factor. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, sometimes
the
you're just gonna
has to be to know that it's gonna be RNG.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things where in PUBG, like, I'll walk up to my team after a game, you know, we'll get 9th. And it's like, hey, that was a great game, guys. You know, and then I'll walk up to them some other times, they'll get 4th. I'll be like, what were we doing? Why didn't we win this game? So there's a lot of things where you just kind of play what's in front of you. And I think that it can be a huge negative. And you can also get hard gifted. And I think it happens a lot in the rankings where, you know, if you go to a LAN or something, 12 games, it's not a lot of games. some teams might get 2 free wins, and that could be the difference between 5th
Right.
and 12th. You know what I mean? So there's
You
a lot
know,
of that stuff that kind
we've
of
been
goes
talking
on.
a lot of about your teams, and we neglected to let the audience know who Jabroni is. Can you do a little intro of who you are and how you are affiliated with esports?
Yeah, so my name's Michael, Michael Sasir. I'm 27. I live in Irvine right now. I'm on Ghost Gaming. I'm the coach of the Ghost Gaming PUBG team. I have been for almost 18 months now. I've been with Ghost, so a long time. I'm currently the longest reigning coach in NA. I'm also the only coach in NA to go to both PUBG Global Championships, both world events, back-to-back years. I did last year in 2018 when we went to PGI Berlin. Got 6th there, and then now we're going to the PUBG Global Championship again in 2 weeks, which is actually here in LA. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome.
Now we know.
Yeah, now
Now
that we
we
got
know.
the listeners caught up with
15 minutes in, and now we know who you
Yeah,
are. So.
yeah.
And that's the podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
But yeah, no. So, you know, since we're on that topic of esports, how did you get into it more seriously? Like, how did you go from just a player of the game to like, I want to be involved in esports? And how did you get into the esports industry from that point? Like when you decided like, hey, I want to do this, or was it a happy accident, or
Yeah, so all right, so this is a pretty interesting story, and I'm sure like every single person who ever plays a game, and if you're listening to this for sure, definitely been in this. Has anybody here been in that position where you're like sitting there, you know, trying to stream, you know, you're sitting there slamming your head against the wall? I had like a 3-year period of time where every single night I was streaming. That's what I was doing. You know, I was a 10 to 15, 20 viewer guy at best, which is pretty much like what I'm at now. Because streaming's definitely taking a backseat, but. And it was one of those things where I was like, oh yeah, dude, I'll just be a streamer. You know, it's totally cool. You know, you can just be a streamer, you know, just play the game. People watch. I learned like pretty quickly, wow, that's not the case at all. So then I actually was streaming Hearthstone for a really long time, committing to that. And I was committing to Hearthstone on more of a competitive level. Played Hearthstone for, I would say like a year. Not full time, obviously, because I had a job, but I was really into it. I was committed. I was slamming it over and over and over again, and it was a lot of fun. Met a ton of people in Hearthstone, and it was really good. And then PUBG came out, and here's the thing where I kind of made a decision about 6 months into PUBG that I was not going to play. I was not going to compete, and that was like a big decision for me. Right now, I could say if I kept up, I would 100% be a player in at least contenders. Which, you know, is great, but not really, you know, it's 128 people in front of me if I'm a contenders player, and that's not really, you know, a way to take off and go for a career. But I knew I couldn't really keep up. I'm not really a PC guy, so it's new to me. I couldn't really keep up when it came to gunfights and gun skill on the highest level of PUBG. And then one day I was looking for some scrims just to play, and I'm trying to learn about the comp side more. And it was a place called PUBG Online, and they were doing like weekly tournaments at the time. So I was in their Discord looking for a team, and they pretty much made an announcement, hey, we need a caster to try and cast this stuff. I was like, do whatever. Like, why not try? So then they just let me, which is beyond me. They just let me cast the tournament. Like, they didn't even know me for like 20 minutes. And they're like, yeah, dude, sure, it's all you. So they throw me up in front of like 1,500 people on their Twitch channel. They have no idea who I am. You know, yeah, they just threw me to the wolves, and it was terrible. Like, I was the worst. But it was one of those things where it was like, you know, it was pretty fun, and they didn't really have anybody else to like replace me with. So I ended up, you know, I would say 3 or 4 times a week, I was just casting PUBG Online, which was at that time the highest level of competitive. So it was kind of weird because like me, who had never really been a part of like any major org or things of that nature, you know, I've been a part of little tiny ones that people have never heard of, but you know, I was sitting there casting FaZe, Navi, Liquid, you know, all these teams, Tempo, Envy, Cloud9, you know, all these orgs were in the games I was casting. Yeah. And it was like, it was wild for me because it was like, oh, wow. Like I'm finally, you know, even though I wasn't a player, I wasn't involved in one of the teams. Yeah. Like, you know, as far as I was concerned, I was sitting there and I was a part of it. Then while I was doing that, the PUBG Online itself actually ended up getting purchased by a bigger company called Mainline. So they were like, hey, can you move to Houston? And I was like, oh, Like, are you serious or whatever? And they're like, yeah, we're serious. I was like, oh, okay. So we all moved down to Houston, like 8 of us who had never met before.
Wow.
And we started, they started actually casting the events from a studio in Houston and all this stuff. I'll, put it in nice words. It was a garbage truck on fire the entire time. It was a disaster. Like it was, it was exactly how you think a business would be run if you put like 8 random people on the internet in charge of it. It was fun, but definitely, I mean, that business was not making any money. So I kind of felt as though it was going downhill, and I started kind of reaching out. That was like, I want to say it was the end of 2017, like December. I think I went down there. I actually drove down to Houston from New Jersey. So
that was probably about the peak, like, popularity of PUBG too, like around that time, like when it was really, that was really when it was taking off.
I would say it's probably right after then, or maybe right before then, because right before then was Oakland, which was to this day still one of the most popular LAN events that PUBG has had. I think it was Oakland. I'm pretty sure it was. And it was like October. So, and then I went down there in December. So it was right around the peak time of PUBG. And then, so yeah, the business started going in a very sour direction. There was a lot of things that I wanted to happen that weren't getting done. So I decided, okay, I'm going to try and reach out to teams and see what I can get involved in. At that time, me being the guy I was like, wow, I just sit here and spectate PUBG all the time. I should try and work with a team, little analyst work, something like that. And that's when Ghost was reaching out and looking for somebody. So I did a little write-up, something like that for them. And then that was it. I called them. They talked to me. They hired me, gave me a chance. And 1 week later, literally the week that I joined, I was at the Burbank North American PGI qualifiers, where we took second.
That's crazy.
And then I've been on Ghost ever since. Yeah, it was a wild journey.
So quick off the books question: would you recommend that to anybody? Like, just the path that you had to take to get there. Is that something that you would recommend? Because I know, like, a lot of people who play video games want to do it in some kind of professional platform.
It's like everyone's dream.
Yeah.
Everyone's dream wants to be something like that.
Yeah. So, all right, here's the yikes. Here's the best way that I'll put this. People need to come to a realization, and I don't mean this for everybody. There's a lot of people who are incredibly skilled players. And I think if you're an incredibly skilled player and you want to compete and you want to, get to a pro level in a game, that's what you should do. However, people need to realize that if you're not tier 1 in your game, and I mean at like tier 1, if you're not tier 1, you are not going to be in a good spot. So it's one of those things where, everybody wants to be a pro gamer, but there is so much more that goes into it than just, having gun skill. And that's step 1. If you have good gun skill, that's great. But then there's a huge problem in PUBG, actually, where a lot of players who have good gun skill, they don't understand the team aspect. And I call it like the Counter-Strike effect. If you've played Counter-Strike, you've learned so many things that people need to know to play almost any competitive esport. You need to know how to trade. You need to know how to breach properly. You need to know how to check your corners. Like, there's a lot of those things that I think are core Counter-Strike, fundamentals that transfer into every single game. And that's why you see Counter-Strike players that are really easy, that can very easily transition into other games.
Yeah,
but
I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to talk about this before we get off too far off of what you just said. As far as there's a lot of people, especially a lot of young kids, that think that this is easy, that it's that it's any different from a regular sport.
Yeah.
As far as having to, there's a difference between being good at basketball, being great at basketball, and wanting to be the best. And just like any athlete, those are the people that when they go home from practice, they continue to practice. Like there is no like, oh, I practice 4 hours a day. It's I practice every chance I get. And that reminded me a way back when there was a TV series called True Life. Anybody remember this? The series is on MTV, I think. And they had True Life, I'm a Pro Gamer, And at the time, Halo was the popular multiplayer MLG thing. And like, even watching that was eye-opening for me. And I already knew like how much time and commitment some people put into this. But some of these people are neglecting like relationships with girlfriends and family, and literally playing games 16 hours, memorizing spawn times, memorizing spawn cycles on maps, and like you said, checking corners, communicating with a squad. All that stuff is crucial when you're trying to play with a team. There's not too many solo esports things that I can think of other than I mean, heck, even all the league and stuff like that. Like, they're all team-based games. Like,
shooter wise, I don't
Fortnite
know.
has the solo World Cup. But that's probably just about it.
Maybe there's like some battle royale type stuff. But it's it's crazy because there's so many people who like obviously it's everybody's dream. I want to be a pro gamer. I want to be a pro gamer, dude. That shit's hard, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is crazy, and people don't realize it's the same thing, where I put it in streaming, where it's like people stream and they're like, yeah, people will come watch me. It's like, why will people come watch it? And it's the same exact thing where if you're going to do it, you need to do it at like the ultimate level. And I hate to say it, we have a lot of PUBG players who, still have part-time jobs. We have a lot of teams that are crappy at, scrimming, and, they just don't show up frequently. And, when I look at the leaderboards every single time at the end of the split or anything like that, like the same teams are up top. The teams that are playing every single day are up top, and it's, when I'm at a global event, Tempo Storm is currently, they won all 3 phases in North America, and their IGL is sitting there literally at a bar at 11 o'clock at night with their coach watching VODs. Yeah. And they're literally like, everybody else is drinking and having a good time, and they're sitting there watching VODs. And it's like, all right, well, that's a huge tell. And that's something that I think people need to realize. You can't just get on, frag in public games, and get anywhere with this. And I think that's really important. And people also need to realize there's a lot of other stuff you can be doing in esports. You know what I mean? Like, there's it is a big world. You don't have to be a player. People run tournaments, people cast tournaments. There's managers for every single team. Organizations need so many different people, content, the videos that go into it, the photography that goes into it. We go to NPL, every single team has a photographer with them, literally getting paid to fly out to these events and experience these events and, capture these moments. And, there's so much talent there that people need to understand. Hey, just because
I was actually
I'm not the best player doesn't mean I can't be a huge part of this.
I was going to ask. That was what I was going to ask you.
It's really important
for the people that they want to be involved in the industry. Like, there's so, like, I was going to ask, like, what do you see? But I mean, you kind of went over it. But it's just like the amount of positions that are there that aren't being a gamer. Like, there's so many other things that you can be involved in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's
really cool.
And I think it just kind of comes down to the, if you want to be a streamer, you can be a streamer. If you want to be a player, you can be a player. If you want to be a coach, you can be a coach. If you want to be, whatever it is, you can do it, but don't half-ass it, And I that was something that was probably my biggest problem when I was younger, where it was like, I wanted to do everything, but I didn't want to commit to one, And it was like, because of that, I was mediocre at everything, I was okay at everything I did. And it's like, if I sat here and slammed PUBG 9 hours a day every single day, I'm going to become a better player. If I sit there and analyze what I'm doing wrong, I'm going to become a better player. If I sit there and practice on aim practice and all those, mini games, I'm going to be a better aimer, and it's just how it works. It's time in working properly is going to give you results. And, that goes in every single part of gaming. It's the same thing as anything else in the world. If you want to be a good streamer, okay, what's going to make you different? Hey, your camera sucks, fix it. Hey, your mic sucks, fix it. All these things you can upgrade. And when you sit there and you watch back yourself playing, yourself streaming, yourself coaching, yourself casting, whatever it is, these are my mistakes. This is what I can do better next time. And you make the next time better. And that's it. That's like, it's a really simple process that people need to understand. But don't get discouraged just because you can't be a player. There's so many different things that you can be a part of.
I have to go get a new camera and a new headset.
Yeah, I think he's just calling you out.
I was just going to say that. Like, are you just critiquing stuff?
I appreciate
your mic actually sounds pretty
criticism.
Good. Your mic actually sounds. I'm a little surprised that it sounds good because I saw it, but it actually sounds good.
Stav has the face for TV, but the voice for radio.
I'm going to cross out Mike, keep camera though.
Save that.
Updated list.
Yeah, it's just, there's just so many things that, even now there's things I want to do, and it's like, you just got to prioritize and do what you're doing well.
I think what you break down is, you could say for any sport, really. Zombie hinted at the NBA, but if you're going to go in at any sport, baseball, football, esports, whatever, you have to commit and go in hard. Like, you just can't, you phrase it perfectly, can't half-ass it. You have to go in expecting that this is what I'm striving to be and what I'm striving to go for. And I think you did a great job kind of hashing out the realistic goals versus what people may never get to. So I think you did a good job.
And I think the only other thing there is, if you're going for this, be careful when it comes to reputable organizations, when it comes to contracts, when it comes to a lot of those things. I think that in gaming, it's like the Wild West out here, man. Like, there is just the craziest, everybody trying to make magic happen, and people are going to offer you crazy contracts. People are going to offer you, the world, and stick with reputable teams. It's really important to do that and read everything carefully. I think that's my biggest thing, because we have even had a lot of PUBG teams that have gone through it with some questionable individuals trying to take advantage of them. And I think that's something that's really important.
Absolutely.
If you're going to do it, that is, do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. There you go, nailed it. And make sure you're protected as much as possible.
I have to ask this as a reporter. Anything on the Tfue contract? Any insider information on what happened a couple months ago with that?
Anything on the Tfue contract?
Anything that doesn't mess you up.
I have to ask as a reporter right now.
I don't think his contract was that bad at all, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people, there's definitely some things in there that you don't like, but, you got to come to the realization of, hey, I'm signing a contract, and, look at where Tfue was at that point. What did, Tfue wasn't a 35,000 viewer streamer.
Do you think his popularity is what made, like, the whole drama around it, like the fact that he questioned where his contract was and the state of it, like, because of his popularity, of how much he had blown up?
Well, I mean, it's like one of those things where if you're an NFL player and you sign, you're a nobody and nobody knows who you are, you're not going to get a huge contract going in, right?
Yeah.
So what's going to happen is you're going to sign a 5-year deal. Let's say you're making $400,000 a year in that deal if you're an NFL player. All right, fine. Is that crazy money? No. It's decent NFL, I'm a tier 2 player or whatever. And then all of a sudden you lead the league in sacks. Then that's something you can go there and be like, hey, I'd like to renegotiate this, and I would like to change this. And I think that's where he was at. And then, I don't think the contract that he got is that bad, because a lot of people do have to realize when it comes to esports and things of, the different organizations, dude, if you join FaZe,
that's pretty big.
You're set.
Yeah.
That like I would gladly give FaZe 80% of everything. And he didn't even have to do that. I would be like, yeah, take it all, and it's one of those things, assuming I was like a streamer or something, but it's not the case. Just because, he instantly blows up, and these orgs do so much for people. And I think a lot of people need to realize that I don't think there's an org in esports right now that makes money, like, at all. I don't think it exists. I think there's a lot of people who get money from investors and use it, and they look like they're making bank.
Yeah.
But if you want to tell me there's a team that's going through the end of the year and they're looking at that number and it's positive, I would tell you there's no way. There's a couple that are close maybe, but nobody is. And I think that a lot of these orgs are, especially the tier 1 orgs. Like, I'm so lucky at Ghost, man. Ghost takes such good care of us.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm spoiled beyond all belief. And I think it's really important that a lot of people realize that, you're not going to sit there and just make a bunch of money by not putting in the work and doing this. Like, it's something. And if FaZe is going to give you a contract like that, I looked at it. It wasn't that bad. Was it great? No, but you got that contract when you were a 500 viewer streamer. You know what I mean? Now you're 35,000. you guys can re-up, change it, and everything will be great.
So since we're talking about like esport teams and organizations, like let's talk about Ghost. Just like when you got there, because you said you went there after you were looking for another thing to do once the one PUBG Online was kind of falling apart or whatever.
Yeah.
But you got there, and so like from there on to now, like just how has that been for you as a coach, as a player, and all that kind of thing?
I mean, Ghost is the best, dude. It's crazy, you know. Back when I was younger, I don't know how old. I'm assuming most of you are around my age. I'm 27, so I don't know. I know Nelly said he was young.
I don't believe I said it, but
well, someone told me. Someone told me you. Yeah, but it's like yeah, it's
I didn't incriminate myself.
So
I'm
like
at a strip club called the Library.
so like back in the day, I don't know if you guys tried to compete, dude. I had to pay to play in tournaments. Like, bro, I wanted to play in a Gears of War tournament. My team had to put up $250.
Yeah,
I was representing an organization at that time. They didn't have any money. They're sitting there like, yeah, dude, we'll bring you jerseys if you make finals. Like, oh, dude, nice, dude. We're gonna get jerseys, bro. We're gonna get and you know what? I was stoked, dude. I was so excited. I was like, yo, we're gonna get jerseys, dude. It's gonna be so sick. We're gonna look so badass. You know, I was. That's what it was. And now it's been 10 years, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, these organizations are, you know, I mean, Ghost gives me a beautiful place to live, a beautiful apartment. You know, they take such good care of us in like every single regard. We have an office space. We can go into the office when we're scrimming and practicing. So we have that office environment. Dude, it's literally the best. And just having that where it's like, hey, my keyboard's busted, man. I need a keyboard stat. Hit up Ghost, and
right to your
you know,
doorstep.
there's a guy instantly. Like, I'm taking care of it,
That's
bro.
awesome.
I'm taking care of it. It'll be there soon. And it's so good that, you know, they take so many worries out of it, and that's really what it is. Back in the day, you know, when you're playing, it's like, all right, well, you know, Kevin's got to go to work, so we can't scrim tonight because he has to go to the, you know, he has to go to the bar and, you know, make some money for this week. And now it's like these kids are, they don't know how good they got it, and it's just, you know, it's insane. It's like, hey, yeah, 5 days a week. You're going to practice, you know, you're going to scrim 4 or 5 hours a day, and then you just get to play the rest of the night and hang out and stream and, you know, do all that and be creative. And, you know, it just gives you so many outlets. And I think that Ghost is like the epitome of that, where they are always taking care of us,
You know, I think
more than
now's
they should.
a great time
realistically.
to ask you this question from one of our community members. Comical Josh in our community had a question. Who is your most famous friend in gaming?
My most famous friend in gaming. Wow.
After Stav, of course, now that we've been properly
Right.
introduced.
True. So my most famous friend. Well, all right. So if you want to like super close buddy, obviously one of my team members, Trassel, super popular streamer. He plays on Ghost PUBG. You know, you see him 500, 600, 700 viewers every day. He's fantastic. Super glad to have him on the team and have him be a part of it. He's been a great addition, and it's been super fun having him around. I would say there's some other people I've played with a few times that I know. Obviously, you guys, we had a little meme that was made that was sent to me. I've played with Dr. Disrespect a couple times, played some PUBG with him. Me and Drassel played with him a couple nights. Super fun. Great guy. I actually met him at PGI Berlin last year when 2 of my players, which was McCoy and Ballack at the time, played in a charity event in the middle of the week during Worlds last year. And it was Ballack, McCoy, Shroud, and Doc. So it was like, that was the team. So, you know, you're like sitting there and I was like, hey, what's up, Shroud? Yeah, you're going to sit right here, right next to McCoy, you know? And I was chilling there. Everybody was taking pictures. So that was super cool. That was really fun. I've met, you know, a ton of other people, like from top to bottom. I would say on a fame level, though, outside of gaming, I've played with Jeremiah Freites. He's the drummer for the Lumineers. He's a big PUBG fan. So he's actually been playing with us a lot. He's a really nice guy, super friendly. He plays on the laptop. It's, you know, it's terrible, but Asus. Yeah, but we let it happen. And then besides that, obviously there's the Ghost guys. Like Aiden is an extremely popular player. He lives in the apartments with us. So I see him, all the time.
With
great guy.
Buying his Rolex that just came out this week.
All right, dude. So he buys this watch, and I see the photo, and I'm like, Aiden. Aiden's a young kid, right? I don't know, he's 19, 20, whatever he is.
He's living the life.
Dude, if I ever bought a watch like that, my dad would be so disappointed in me. He'd be like, what are you doing? It's just one of those things. Like Aiden's been killing it. He's so popular. And, that's a great example of somebody who really just kind of gave themselves success. And he went on, one of the biggest stages in Fortnite when he was going one-on-one with Nick Merckx and, dominated. And it was one of those things where he was an overnight sensation because of how he handled himself. Mm-hmm. And I think that if he chose to just play that tournament in a different way, and just, play casually, try to win and stuff like that, we would be looking at a completely different Aiden. But, he popped off and he definitely deserves it. This dude's out here grinding every single night. I mean, him and his girlfriend live here, and this dude just gets in and streams every single night, dude. Like every night he's grinding.
Question that a different community member had. Feather26 wanted to know if you believe that gaming will ever get rid of this stereotype stigma of the geek/lonely person activity. It seems like esports people are the new rock stars. I mean, they're far from lonely from what I'm seeing nowadays.
Yeah, it's getting there in North America. I don't think it's quite there yet. Obviously, we have Ninja, but
have
blue-haired.
Ninja?
I have met Ninja. Yeah, Drassel and Ninja were actually on the Luminosity team together. So Drassel and Ninja are super good friends.
That's cool.
They played H1Z1 together, and then when they transitioned into PUBG, they were actually Luminosity together. So that's where he came from.
That's cool.
I would say that we'll get there eventually, but it's just one of those things. Like we're not Korea. You know what I mean? Like when I went to the PUBG Nations Cup this year. It was in Korea. It was in Seoul, which was awesome. You guys should go to Seoul. It was the coolest place ever. And it was like it was wild. But we're walking around there. I'm talking to Gen G and those teams, whatever. Dude, those guys they're superstars out there, man. And it's crazy because they play the same game near the same level that we do, but like they are absolute superstars.
Just a whole other culture there.
Yeah, and I think we're getting there. Mm-hmm. But it's just the games that are popular here. Like Fortnite's popular here, and it's like, okay, I don't think anyone's going to become a, obviously Ninja somewhat did it, but Ninja's super geeky, so that's not really helping our cause.
I was going to say that earlier when you brought it up.
Like I don't yeah, like Ninja's famous, but like I think that's making it worse, not better.
I think you go down the road of like Tim the Tap Man, Nick Merckx, Courage. That are kind of bringing it out of that.
Yeah.
Because those guys, they're just so like, you go into one of their streams and you're just like, dude, I get this guy. He's a cool dude. He's not just a gamer. Like, he's a real bro. And then he also games on the side too and kills it.
Yeah, and I think 100 Thieves is a great example. It's like, dude, you're looking at Nade Shot hanging out with Pokimane and hanging out, with Valkyrie, and it's like, that doesn't look geeky at all, dude. This guy's rolling in money. He's killing it. I want to live that guy's life. And I think that's the real pull is when you have kids, when you have people who are playing games, look at these guys and go, dude, I want to be that guy. You know what I mean? I want to live that life. That's what really gets you, the stardom and would really get you the fame. And that's, we'll get there for sure. And I think teams like 100 Thieves are doing that, where they're making it super cool to be in an org and be a content creator and things.
I have a picture of Courage right next to my monitors, and I just say that's where I want to go.
It's a very sticky picture.
He's literally living the life, man. He was just in an apartment in New Jersey, and now he's in LA meeting Ariana Grande, doing like music videos like with her and stuff. Like, dude, talk about where gaming has gone from just a year. And now you're seeing people like that. You see people gaming with Drake, Juju Smith-Schuster, Josh Hart, Brandon Urie's even playing the game. It's crazy where it's definitely coming out of this geek/nerdy persona and getting more to the main stage of just being.
Dude, and we had today. I don't know if you guys saw this, right? But I gotta pat my own back here because I'm pretty excited. Cleveland Browns tweeted today. Here, I'm gonna post it so you guys can see the image here.
Did they tweet their loss to the Patriots? Or are you
Well,
talking about
all right. So, yeah, so they're not killing it, obviously. All right, I'm not a Browns fan, so it's fine. It's it is what it is. But Cleveland Browns tweeted they were about to start the game. Everyone was walking in, and here's my boy Baker Mayfield in the Ghost Gaming jacket.
Awesome.
So
I gotta say, other than 100 Thieves hoodies, y'all's hoodies are the cleanest I've seen. Because I was looking at them the other day, and they are the cleanest to me.
Dude, I love the Ghost like logo and everything. That was like it's real nice. Dude, it's so clean, and I think I really like that more than 100 Thieves does it really well, where it's like a streetwear fashion type thing, where it's I don't want to sit there and wear some weird Bronco logo, like an NFL team. I want to look badass. I want to, and that's something that I think is a huge pull. I like the streetwear style that gaming's going to, and I think it'll be really successful in that market.
I wanted to ask, we were talking about just kind of like all the guys you've met and people that you've been with and just that kind of thing in esports. So like a lot of the people you mentioned are just kind of in the PUBG esports scene. And so like, is there a lot of like intermingling from just all esports in general? Like obviously you know the guys in Ghost that are doing things like Fortnite and stuff, but like outside of Ghost, even just like do people from the Fortnite esports scene like always around? Like are you guys always around each other in that kind of sense, all being in California?
I would actually say no. I think it was different with Ghost because they had a big giant house up in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So that was an experience then because like all the teams were in there. But I would say that you become kind of locked into your game when it comes to who you hang out with, who you play with. Because like I could say right now, like I could go through and go into the Discord of PUBG Pros. There's probably 300 people in there, and I will tell you, I know every single person.
Yeah.
Right. But there's people on Ghost that from EU and stuff that play a different game that I just don't ever run into, and it's like you definitely become an expert on your game. But by doing that, you don't really have time to jump around and experience everything. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's a lot of Rocket League. We have a Rocket League team. I'm not very familiar with what's going on in Rocket League. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really have that connection. I think that in the future, as games are developing, I don't know how you guys feel, but I kind of feel like we're getting so spread out that it's getting spread very thin with so many different genres and so many different players and so many different, there's so many different esports going on that how are you going to have 30 different leagues? There's too many people to be a fan of. There's just too many games to go around. And I think, games like League of Legends and Counter-Strike and stuff, if we get that core set of games and kind of just catapult those further rather than having all the little side ones, maybe we could connect them
so like
a little bit
going
more.
off of that, like a lot of like Overwatch, and I know Call of Duty's starting it up now, and I don't know if any other big games have really moved towards this yet, but a lot of like those two for sure, they're doing the like league where they're doing the LA Gladiators is the Overwatch team in LA, and it's like that's like it's like the Rams or the Gladiators. It's like like a franchise kind of thing. And so is that a move that you think works for esports? Is that kind of something that you wish they'd stay? Because like if they do that for every game, then there's just 30 leagues, like you're saying, like that could be spread out a lot.
All right. So I think franchising is good. A lot of people disagree with me. I think franchising is really good. The only thing I don't like about how it's been handled so far is, the Houston Outlaws should have just been Optic. Don't make them change their name. Let them be Optic.
Okay.
And if FaZe is going to have a league team, it should be FaZe. If FaZe is going to have an Overwatch team, it should be FaZe. So I understand. I'm a FaZe fan. I'm not a. And I think that the franchises are a good thing because it keeps shitty orgs out. Because shitty orgs they just can't afford it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And if let's say PUBG was franchised, but all those orgs were tier 1 organizations, and I knew everyone was going to get taken care of, everything was going to be smooth, we weren't going to have any issues with players bouncing back and forth, people getting, orgs coming and going, split after split, switching their teams, split after split. That's where it should be. I don't think you need to charge the orgs $25 million. I think that's a little much, but you know, I do think franchising is good because that's how we take it professionally to the next level.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
the
and I
mainstream
think
move.
that could be really important. Yeah.
So, really quickly, I do have a question because, you know, when we were doing our due diligence on you, it came up a lot that you were mostly an angel growing up,
Mhm.
but I do have some questions about a certain Pontiac that you would take
Oh
out
my
every once
God.
in a while before you got a license.
Oh, my dude,
So,
you
like-
really snitched on me, huh?
So, like, where would you like drive that? Would you pick up girls in it, or like
All
were
right.
you looking for the future Mr. Brony, or
He
Give us
drove
a
into
No,
story.
no, no.
House, Nelly.
All right, so I got a Pontiac Solstice from my. Sorry if you can hear the car alarm going off outside. From my uncle. My dad bought it from my uncle. It was used at like 90,000 miles on it. I freaking love that car. And they gave it to me before I turned 17 because that's when he was getting rid of it. So they got it like 6 months early. So at that time, summer's coming around. You know, it's almost my birthday, but my birthday's in the middle of July. Parents are at work every day. And I'm going to sit there and look at that car for 8 hours every day and not drive it. You know what I mean? Like, come on. And then I had a buddy who was living at his aunt's house. It was like 30 minutes away, 25 minutes away. So what I did was I would hop in the car and I would just go pick him up. And, you know, I didn't have my license. So it's definitely, we're bending the rules a little bit. And it was, kind of one of those things where I'll just take it real quick. I'm not going to crash it. I'll drive slow. I'll stay on the calm roads, and I'll just go pick somebody up. I was terrified. The one time I did, I drove like 30 minutes and I was a cop behind me. I thought I was going to scream because I was like sitting there. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get my light. I'm going to get in so much trouble. And, but it all turned out.
But you did get in an accident, correct?
Oh,
or
no.
It was hit.
It was hit. Now, it was hit right before my 17th birthday. Right before I got my sister hit it.
Oh, that evil angel.
Yeah. So what I did was I backed it up, or I parked it. Like we had a weird driveway. It basically was like I don't even know how to explain it because it was a 2-car driveway, but then it had this weird thing on the right side where an extra car or two could fit there. And we kept a little basketball hoop there or whatever. So the way I parked my car, it was not safe. My sister ran inside. I pulled in behind her, parked my car. Then she ran back outside, didn't realize it was there, hopped in her Jeep and drove right back into it. The window was in the door. The window instantly shattered. The door was destroyed. It was a disaster. It was the absolute worst. And on my 17th birthday, when I finally got to drive it, the whole door was dented in. And it was just like the worst thing. Yeah. And I got it fixed. And then the next summer it happened again.
Oh man.
But instead it was like I parked at my friend's house, but they hit the same door, broke the window again. Like it was the exact same thing. So it was twice. I had to replace the whole side of the car. And it was, it was a nightmare.
Tell us more about this giant bell.
The giant bell. Oh wow, they told you. Yeah, so we used to have a bell in our backyard.
They told you about that?
Yeah, I actually, dude, I haven't thought of the bell in like 5 years. So
you're welcome. I hope this is entertaining for you.
I don't even know where my dad got it from, but he had like a bell that was like, I don't know if it was supposed to be like on a train or like what it was, but it was this big giant bell.
It was his dad's before him.
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah, and it was like, I mean, it was such a weird thing to have, but we had it. I don't know. It was like next to the grill in the backyard. So what would happen is we would go out and I'd be hanging out with my friends or whatever. And if we needed to come home, my dad would ring this bell. And we could hear this bell from like a half mile away. Like it was all these people hanging outside and you just hear the bell just slam. He's out there just slamming the bell as loud as he can. And instantly, whether it was like a neighbor, a friend or whatever, everyone would be like, hey, dude, you have to go. I just heard the bell. Like everybody knew that we had to go home when the bell went off. Everybody knew. So it was like, I don't know. It's just like this weird neighborhood thing where everybody just knew about this bell that we would ring and it would call us all home. And yeah, it was a whole thing.
So for size reference, you said this was like from a train or something, but like about how big? Like size of a small garbage can? Like
no.
It was like
the size of me. It was like a 6-foot bell. Yeah. Yeah, no, it was like it was a big ass bell. It was not like a little like thing that he's holding outside and ringing. Like, no, this thing he had to go and like use strength to ring this bell to let us all know that it was time to come home. This thing was huge, and it was, you know, it not like a clock tower bell or anything. It was just like a pole, but it was like a 6 foot tall pole, and then had like a 2 foot bell on top. I don't know. It was a weird thing to have, but he had it. And that's what it was.
Well, maybe one day you'll inherit that bell.
You know, we sold the house. I think they left it there.
Oh, go take
And
it.
I'm sure those people ripped it out. I'm sure they ripped it out. Because they're probably walking back there like, what the hell is this bell doing here?
You should incorporate a bell into your coaching.
I
Yeah.
should.
Actually, you know, talking about coaching really quick, Stav had some questions that he was mulling over in his head to ask about the coaching side of the esports and what that looks like. Stav.
All right, get ready. Here comes the hot hitting questions. You ready? Let's go. We're going right in. So you have the PUBG Global Championship coming up. Obviously, a good deal of coaching must go into this. You know, this is the granddaddy of them all. You're probably looking forward to this the entire year, right? You have any NFL coach, they're prepping the entire week, looking at opponents' tape, looking at their own team's tape. Does that same kind of attitude go into an esports team like yourself? Are you watching film on opponents? Are you watching film of yourself? Are you just breaking down every aspect of what you can come into in one of these championships?
All right, so this is kind of interesting because in an event like this, there's 32 teams. We don't even have the lobbies yet. I don't know who we're playing against. I know there's 31 other teams from 9 different regions. Now, I have, you know, we make the little maps just like every team does. Like, oh, yeah, this is where everybody drops. Hope you guys study the map, you know, and you know what's going, you know. But all that shit is, you know, that's like, you know, you first start type of stuff. But when it comes to coaching, obviously we have NPL, which is a league with splits. Like that is, we play the same teams every single week, 8, 10, 12 games a weekend. And in there, you go in and when a circle pops, first circle, you're like, all right, this team's here, this team's here, this team's here, this team's here. We get to that level 100% in the season. And I think that that's something where, you know, you see teams, if their preparation's good, they will be in a great position because they know how far they can go first circle. They know what they can take right away. They know who they can punish. And I think that's a lot of it. But when it comes to these big global events, like I hate to say it, it is a fucking disaster. Like it is the biggest mess of crap where random teams from random nations you just heard of for the first time 3 days ago are all of a sudden dropping on top of you and they're driving 4 men in one vehicle and just slamming it into your building. I mean, it is like one of the most important things at these global events is like keeping calm and just understanding what's going on, because like it is one of those things where it comes down to the wire. People will do anything to try and get placement. And if something's not working, you know, they're not going to roll over and die. They're going to just do some wild shit you've never even heard of. And I think that when it comes to these, it's difficult because I can't sit my guys down and be like, hey guys, there's, you know, 3 different maps. There's 20 different circles. We could get circle 1 on each map. And there's 31 teams we have to look at. We can't possibly do that. And that's why when it turns into a situation like this, you really have to just focus on yourself. And in a lot of cases, you know, right now, like we loot Minas Generalis, which is a city-ish area on Miramar, which is the desert map. And that is one of our favorite loot spots. We love it and we want to stay there. We go there every single game on that map. Now, the problem is we're going to Worlds. There's 5 other teams that loot the same spot out of the 32. So
do you guys have an audible, like a drop 2?
Well,
you know, if you see a lot of people coming in,
that's exactly what happens. Like, yeah, you want to maybe have an audible, but then it's like, wait, if we leave, we're going to lose this the next time we play these guys. And it's like, do we fight? So now it turns into this whole thing. And I think for us going into the global championship, I think we're one of the only teams that is contested on every single map. So we have somebody with us on every map, no matter what it is. So on all 3, we have to make a decision of, are we fighting? Are we leaving? And that turns into a whole nother factor because you have 31 other teams that might also be contested. And then you don't know, are they staying? Are they going? What are they going to do? So it becomes this wild game of chess where I would say the preparation for global events is much more difficult than the preparation for a league or something like that. But with a league, like we watch VODs, you know, our guys, we do little presentations on the VODs of every single game that we play in the league. We scrim for about 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday. On top of that, you know, I make them play other things like Face It and things of that nature when they don't have scrims. There's a lot of stuff like we've driven around to look at rotations. We've talked to some other teams when we're borrowing their loot spot about rotations and stuff like that. And there's been a lot of back and forth in that regard where, you know, PUBG is a very young game, and figuring out what the best thing to do in many different situations is really difficult. And there's a lot of conversations that go on, and there's a lot of, hey, if this happens again, we're going to go here. And then that thing that you just talked about, that might not come up for another 3 months. And then it's like, wait, what the hell were we supposed to do here? I forget this, you know? So there's a lot of preparation. And I think that the best thing for us is to be in a long league. Obviously, Worlds isn't going to be that way. So it's going to be a little bit of a clown fiesta. But if you trust your shots and you guys are playing, you know, 4 up and everybody's kind of sticking together.
Did you make your strategy based off the players on your team? Or did you have this strategy for PUBG and then kind of went over it with your team to focus on your strategy in the game? Or is it kind of a team thing? Let's group up. Let's figure out what's going to work best for us to win championships.
So there's a back and forth there with certain players, because certain players obviously excel at different things. For us, we had an IGL in phase 1 that we swapped out, and we swapped him out for a different player that was literally a Hail Mary, just who's Shrimsy, who's still on the team. We actually just pretty much picked him out of a contenders team. We're just like, shit, we need somebody. We're going to get relegated. We have to do something. So we just swapped him out. So we just took out our IGL. And when we did that, we gave McCoy, who is one of the players he's the longest reigning player on Ghost. He's been on Ghost since like a year before I was on Ghost. We were just like, McCoy, you're the IGL out. Like, you're in charge. And he had never IGL'd before. And it was like one of those things where like, oh shit. Okay. So, you know, we can't get really fancy about rotating around the circle and trying to get to the soft side and things of that nature. So that definitely comes into effect. But then also, you know, we have Drassel. Drassel's a sniper. That's what he is. He bolts. He's a bolt action guy. And I think that we've definitely changed up our strategy in regards to that, to kind of give him, you know, make sure he snipes. A lot of teams don't have a sniper anymore. They kind of left that behind about, you know, a year ago. But we think he's, you know, so good that even though the snipers are not very meta right now, you know, he's got to use them. And we definitely put our strategy around that. Like, if the team's going to push forward, he's going to be the one not pushing, you know? So there's a lot of stuff like that kind of goes into play. And understanding your play style and understanding your role, I think, is the biggest, most important thing for anybody. If somebody can do that, it's going to make your team way better. And I think that if I'm playing with somebody and that person understands, hey, I'm going to always be the first one inside the building, so you need to follow me to kill the guy that's about to destroy me from behind this wall, you know? And there's a lot of that goes into it. And you need everybody
do you with your team, do you guys have any pre-game rituals, like non-gaming related, like something fun maybe you do to kind of like,
yes,
build team synergy?
Yeah, we have a lot. I don't know why these things started. So first of all, we all drive up to MPL in my truck. That's what we do. We're 6 guys in my truck. We listen to the Minecraft parody song. I forget what it's called. I think it's called I'm Mining. It's by Lil Memer. And we all sing that together. We also listen to a song by Dowko, which is all in Japanese. None of us know the words, but everybody tries to sing it. We used to listen to Baby Metal a lot. We go to Chick-fil-A on Saturdays. And then for a long time, we're going to Taco Bell on Sundays because we believed in Taco Bell circles, which are, if you eat Taco Bell in the morning, you get more circles when you play.
I like that.
That. Yeah. So we were going to Taco Bell every single Sunday, and that was the thing that we were doing for a really long time. We stopped doing that in phase 3 because we kept going to Taco Bell and it wasn't working. And we're like, oh no, Taco Bell circles don't work anymore. So we started going to a chicken and waffles place. The first time that we went to the chicken and waffles place, we had a game where the game literally ended on our first circle compound. And we're like, that's it. We're going to get chicken and waffles every single time.
Chicken and waffles.
So that's what we've been doing since then. And there's a lot of there's a lot of little things that go into it, just to kind of, get you comfortable on the same day. You know what I mean? Where it's like you just want to feel you're at home when you're playing, and all those little things.
So I wanted to talk to you kind of about the stuff you've done in just the like last year or so for the coaching, and like you were on Team USA as the main coach for the PUBG USA team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Okay. So like, what was that experience like? Just being able to compete as like the country versus the other countries. Like what was that like for you?
So that was the best event I've ever been to.
Yeah.
By a mile. That was.
You guys did pretty good. I mean, it wasn't the worst. It wasn't the worst.
Yeah, the team that everyone said would get first got last, so that was funny. But yeah, we ended up getting 10th. We actually did pretty good on the first 2 days, and then we kind of fell off on the last day. But I don't know. It was weird because something like that, like first of all, I had 2 players from Tempo Storm, 2 players from Space Station Gaming, and then I was the coach. Drassel was on Team Canada, so I was playing against my own player. And then Canada did really, really well. We did not, but it was kind of weird because obviously I'm not going to coach them how to trade and rotations and stuff like that, because as soon as we all talked about being on a team together and we started having a conversation, it was like, hey, we got the IGL from Space Station Gaming. He was the one that was going to IGL for us. And we're like, okay, well, we should IGL from your cities that you're used to, you know what I mean? And play the games that you're used to doing. So that was the plan going in. So it was really just one of those things where when I was there, it was pretty laid back for me. It was hang out, give them some information, and whatever I can figure out while watching the games that they can't see because they're playing. Like I just need to relay that to them to try and help them out the best we can. And then you just hope that the team works together, because it's just random people. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
You could have 2 of the best people in the world, but if they're not going to be on with one another, if one of them is going to push a little too much while the other one wants to go slower, it's just not going to work out. So you really need to kind of nail that down. And that was something that obviously was a little bit of a struggle for us. We lost some pretty tough fights. And sometimes, we were driving around the circle too much. They were Space Station. It was Valley. He was the one that was the IGL for Space Station. Like he's a long rotator. He wants to get on the soft side of the circle. That's just how they play, which is fine. But, that's not how Ghost plays. That's the opposite of how Ghost plays. So it was kind of like a weird thing. It was great to be voted in. It was super cool. There's the fact that, the players and other coaches had to vote. And the fact that I won for Team USA is awesome. But I definitely wish we would have performed a little better. But that event was sick. It was awesome. Really and cool. The fans were awesome.
What do you
I mean, it was one of the craziest
for
things
the esports scene. Like it's pretty decently sized. Like you said, PUBG is one of the top 3 for sure in battle royale games that are played.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what do you see for like the long haul of PUBG? Like as an esports scene, like do you see it striving like something like League of Legends has for like over 10 years now? Like what do you see about that?
I used to be super positive about PUBG. I think PUBG has the best gun mechanics in any game ever made, by a huge margin.
Yeah.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. Like everything about it is just incredible. But that being said, I think the esports have been handled terribly.
Yeah.
I think we've been pretty open about this, myself, all the other orgs. We've lost a lot of organizations. I don't know if you guys have known this. It's been getting pretty bleak in North America. We're down to only 8, I think, remaining in Pro League. So we have 8 free agent teams right now, I think, which is crazy. To have free agent teams in a Pro League is insane. And the fact that it's half of them is even worse. I expect more teams to leave, but I don't know if they will leave until after the global championship, obviously. But yeah, man, it's just been super mishandled, and I'm not too worried about viewers and stuff like that, because I think viewers come. Yeah. Viewers come with time. That's just what it is. If you keep going. If you watched the PUBG Nations Cup, it had over 300,000 viewers. It was insane, and the other regions will definitely pop off. But my biggest issue is if you want the organizations to be there, which you do, because organization fans are important. Optic, just having the Optic brand in your tournament or the Ghost brand in your tournament is going to bring fans of those organizations. Now, the issue there is you need to give them a reason to stay, which means the organizations need to be taken care of. They need to make money. They need to profit off of it. There needs to be something there. And that is something that has not been accomplished by PUBG. Yeah. And I don't know if it's just a disconnect because it's Korean, and the company that is the developers are Korean, and that they're just kind of leaving it all in the back, or what the deal is. But, organizations are making nothing unless you get a percentage of prize money. But, if you get a percentage of prize money, let's say you win $300,000 a year, which is insane. No team really, just maybe 2 teams, 3 teams that have won $300,000 this year. And, if you're getting 20%, that's 60 grand. Guess what? You're negative. You're still negative. And that's what's so crazy, because, they're paying for these players and these coaches and giving them the opportunity, but we really got to make sure we're taking care of the organizations. And I think that's what's
when
really
you
important
compare
for
that
PUBG.
to Fortnite's esports scene, I don't know how much you can talk about it, but does Fortnite handle it in a way that makes it seem like it'll last longer than something like PUBG?
So Fortnite definitely has their own problems. I
Including
think
all of Chapter 2.
Yeah, I think obviously I'm pretty in tune with Fortnite. I play it every now and then, and Ghost has got one of the most incredible Fortnite rosters there is. So it's I'm definitely familiar, but they have their own issues. I don't see any Ghost skins that I can get in Fortnite. I don't see any rev share coming that way that I know of. Their thing is their tournaments just have so much more prize money. And these orgs are making it with 20% of winnings. Yeah. And, that's something that, hey, 20% of $1 million, that's 200 grand. How much are these Fortnite guys getting paid? None of them are making 200 grand yet, unless you're on the top of the table. And I think that's totally reasonable. Putting in that amount of money, I don't think Fortnite can sustain that, though. I don't think they can put $100 million a year into prize pools. That's insane. That's crazy.
I didn't even think about it until you mentioned just the ability to make a phase skin or a ghost skin and sell that off as a likeness thing, and just you would sell merch. I didn't even think about that.
So they have that now in NPL, but they just for some reason don't have team skins. I don't understand why. They sold a frying pan. They sold a jacket, and then they sold a baseball bat. And orgs are putting in maybe $15,000 to $20,000 a month on these teams.
Yeah.
And they're seeing $100 back a month.
Yeah.
And it's that's crazy. And it's something that's so important that you want the top tier orgs to be there. You want the top tier orgs to be there. That's what's most vital for any esport.
Yeah.
I've got to ask a question here, because as we've been talking with you here, I'm sure at this point in the podcast, a lot of our listeners are going to be asking themselves, how do I join Ghost Gaming? It sounds really cool. Are there any avenues for potential listeners or community members to explore, if they want to join the team, or how can they help support? What's the avenues for joining Ghost Gaming or supporting?
So I mean, for now, when it comes to Ghost, we only have, I think it's we have Gears, Rocket League, Fortnite, PUBG. I think that's it.
Yeah, I was looking at your website. I think that's right.
We had a couple other teams in other games. I think Ghost is an organization that's always willing to pick up new teams in other games, for sure, as long as it's one of the best teams, and that's them. It's not one of those things where hey, there's open tryouts. That's really not how it's run. It's we want tier 1 NA teams. That's what we want. We don't want anything less than that. And I think that's the expectation that Ghost has for all of their teams. Gears of War has been one of those teams that they have been a top 3 team forever, literally for eternity, pretty much. The Ghost roster, and it's something that's so important for them is, they want to be at all the major events. They want to be at all the global events, and they want to compete at all of them. And I think your best bet, if you ever want to get on to something like this, is, get yourself to that level. And that's the priority. And that's really what I tell anybody. So many people are so quick to look for contracts and stuff before they have anything, and it's like this crazy thing of yeah, dude, I'm trying to get signed with Ghost, and then I'm going to grind this game. It's what?
What do you mean? And what is the best way for some of our listeners or community members to support Ghost Gaming? What if they're I like what this organization's about? What? Yeah.
So first of all, the number one thing when it comes to anything is watching the players in the streams. Obviously, there's a Ghost Gaming team. I'm sure you can see it if you go to pretty much like myself on Twitch, which is Jabroni or whatever. You can click the actual team and go watch everybody. There's so many different players that are streaming all the time. I think that's the number one way. Get involved with the tournaments. The chat support's nuts. Obviously, there's Ghost merch all the time. We have the coolest merch, the best merch. All right. And there's not that much of it. It's literally just a couple of clean pieces. That's it. They keep it really simple. And I think that's something that is awesome. You know, we've been getting pretty good about going around and having people see us and be like, yo, dude, you're on fucking Ghost. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on Ghost. And, you know, it's an awesome thing. But I think looking forward, I more and more want to walk around and see other people, you know, rocking a Ghost tee, rocking a Ghost hoodie, and stuff like that. And that's kind of my hope for it.
I want to go hoodie now.
But yeah, no, you can definitely, yeah, see, exactly. But you can definitely watch all the events. Look on Twitter at Ghost Gaming. They post when everyone's playing everything. And definitely just support the teams, just like being in chat and stuff and getting involved with the players, getting to know the players is huge. You know, they definitely want to bridge that gap between the players and fans as much.
I have, I think, 2 more questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So question number 1, has Ghost ever considered like being on the front line of starting a new competitive gaming league? And question number 2 will play into that question of, how do you feel about the game Super Monkey Ball?
My head.
All right. Super Monkey Ball.
No, don't.
So good.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Dude, I used to grind that game, bro.
I am validated.
So there will be a competitive scene for that game. Is that what you're saying? I think that's what Nelly was asking.
Is there like a newer version? Because I was like playing on the GameCube.
There is one coming to the Switch.
Oh my God. All right, first of all, I don't have a Switch because I'm an adult. But
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if that's true. It wouldn't surprise me if it does. But yeah, Stav hates that. Stav hates that game and that question, which is why we continue to ask.
Wait, why does he not like? What's wrong with Super Monkey Ball?
It's not a real game.
Yeah, let's turn this on to Stav. What is it, Stav? That you have such a.
It's a fake game. It doesn't exist. There's no way it's a real game. You guys obviously talked to him and said, "Yo, hey, say it's awesome. Say it's a real game." It's like is Bigfoot real? Is Super Monkey Ball real? It's literally.
Let's not go there. Uncle Bigfoot's real. Okay, he comes to my birthday party every year.
It's a fun game.
Mac, is it a real game?
It's a fun game. You should play it.
Is it a fun game or
is
it
fun?
A real
It's
game?
fun. It's a real fun game. It's a real fun game.
Okay, it's a real fun game. That's
it's a
still
real
the same
game
thing.
and it's fun.
Damn it! He just said it's a real game.
Stav refuses to acknowledge it.
I'm telling you, that was good. That was back when I was playing NHL Hits on the GameCube too.
Oh.
And then I used to pop off a Super Monkey Ball after. I used to get so frustrated. The game was so hard.
Yeah.
I have a headache.
Speaking of that, what just to really like give one last question, because I know we're trying to wrap this up now. But speaking of frustrating, like what is your go-to game or some chill thing that you do when like you are just done with PUBG and something just frustrates you off the wall? Like what is that go-to thing?
RuneScape, man.
Whoo!
Old school, a little bit of old school RuneScape. Yeah, dude, I got to grind up. You know, every now and then. I was never like a big time grinder in RuneScape, but dude, if I got a couple days, like when I go home to New Jersey, I break out the laptop, man. I lay on that couch like 10 hours a day, and all I'm doing, I'm sitting there grinding Slayer. You know what I mean?
Nice. Yeah.
And it's a nice head clear.
That's awesome
for sure.
And Can I sneak in a really quick question?
Yeah, you can. I don't know if you're asking me. Yeah. I was gonna say. I was gonna say, don't ask me.
It's not about stupid monkey ball or whatever that. Okay, ready?
It's super monkey ball. Get it right.
With the success of just streamers in general on Twitch, Mixer, whatever you're doing, people not in organizations, and the success that people like Ninja, Lupo, Tim the Tatman are having, just streaming, are organizations worried about people leaving organizations to go on their own?
Are they worried? No.
Organizations. Yep.
No. I think that a lot of people, there's people who have success outside of it. Like Ninja obviously has success outside of it. But
those are just the higher end people. But yeah. I think people are starting to see that you can do really well just on Twitch alone streaming.
Yeah, but I think it has to be remembered that, hey, Shroud came from Cloud9, Ninja came from Luminosity, all these people, they competed. That's what they were. They were competitors first. And I think that's why there's so many people, unless you're Doc, all right? Doc is like the only person on Twitch that has seen insane success, and he got it because production value only. All right. That dude could be, he could be the worst gamer in the world. But if he's going to act like that, first of all, he's not that bad. He's actually pretty good. Yep. And then you add in the fact that, like, dude, that is the best stream I've ever seen in my life. And it is incredible to watch. And like that right there is that gimmick, or whatever you want to call it, is a key to success.
It's a stick.
Yeah. And people can come up with stuff like that and find success. Or you can go the competitive route, or you can go the content route. But all of those people, all of those content people who, oh yeah, I'm just all I do is, just stream and make it, bro. All those people join orgs. Every single one of them at some point in time joins an org. That's what happens. And it's these organizations, dude, it's unreal how much they can help you. And
it's like an independent artist signing to a label.
Yeah. And I think the most important part of joining them is like how you use them too. Because a lot of people, like, I mean, I've seen people join Ghost, and then they just like dick around, play the game when they have to play the game. They don't really try to do anything. They don't try and use the time. And then they leave Ghost. And that's it. They got nowhere. You know what I mean? And then there's other people who go in there and instantly like, hey man, I'm trying to do this. I mean, like Aiden, dude, Aiden tries to do everything. Yeah. Aiden's playing Twitch Rivals. He's playing WWE. I mean, Aiden's going to all these stupid events. Like Aiden's playing all these dumb games. Aiden's doing everything he possibly can. He's grinding his face off, and he's meeting all these people, and he's trying to get involved with all these people. And, having Ghost there with him, kind of supporting him, is like so huge that there's so much stuff he doesn't have to worry about now, that he doesn't have to put time into, because he has that support. And I think that that's so important that, if you can find an organization like that, that's going to take care of you and support you, and just give you the world, you need to be thankful, but you need to use that time, because that time is going to go super fast, man. I've been with Ghost 18 months, and I feel like it's been a week. Like it just flies by. I'm busy all the time. I'm trying to do 1,000 things at once, and I'm definitely trying to make use of my time here like the best I can. I'm trying to encourage my players to do the same, but that time comes and goes, and it's not going to stay around forever. So you need to take advantage of it, because it's not easy to be an Aiden. It's not easy, to be a Tfue. You need to make something happen for that to happen.
And, talking about time coming and going, the time for this podcast has come and gone. Sorry. Mac, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was, absolutely awesome talking to you, getting to learn a little bit more of the esports field. And, I'm sure you're a busy guy, so thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be here.
For sure.
Any personal plugs before you go?
Yeah,
your personal Twitch or anything like that?
Jabroni on everything. All right. And this actually brings up another good point on my point. The only reason I'm Jabroni on Twitter at Jabroni is because of Ghost. The only reason I'm verified on Twitter is because of Ghost. I'm partnered on Twitch.
I have one last question. Yeah. I know that we're really trying to wrap this up now, but where did the name Jabroni come from?
All right. Jeez.
Does it have to do with The Rock?
It has everything to do with The Rock.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about.
It has everything to do with The Rock. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it, but this is actually something that we probably should have hit on at some point there. Your name's important.
Yeah.
Your name is important, and your brand is important. And being Jabroni, I used to be Super Mac, dude. And it was like the worst name ever. The moment I changed everything to Jabroni, I'm noticed more. People say my name more. I'm tagged more. People laugh it was the best brand decision that I think I've ever made. And I think that's really important. Find your nice, clean, one-word name, and make it yours. Nice. And the fact that I now own Jabroni on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter is amazing. And that's where you can find me. And that's
awesome. Thank you so much again for having us. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the podcast with our special guest. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe both Jabroni and Good Game Report podcast on any form of social media you may have, and check out the Good Game Report at ggwpreport.com. Thank you so much. Have a great game and have a good night.
Bye.
Good game, everybody.
GG's.
That was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
So nice. I can't wait to delete it.
Yeah, when we were doing the real podcast.
Good stuff, guys. That could have been like 3 hours. Like, I feel like there's so much like we still need to ask Mac, but that was awesome.
Yeah,
That was
That
a
was
lot
good.
of cord, right? I'm just
It was
kidding.
really informative. No, it was really, really good. Like I'm just thinking like being like a younger kid and like listening, like the inside scoop on stuff and like the Aiden stuff, the teacher stuff. Really a lot of good shit.
Fun stuff.
Mac, thank you so much, man.
That was cool. I'm interested. Where do you guys post this on?
Everything.
Like literally everything. How do you
So
like?
be-
How do you
be
like,
on Spotify,
accumulate?
Apple.
How do you accumulate your views across everything?
I told you.
Yep. So
And
we
it
go
just, and it
through
just tells
a.
you there.
Yep. So